What is up, my aesthetic boys? It's Fresh, back with another video. Today we have an episode of Entitled People featuring entitled parents, and did any of it happen? Who knows, but boy is it entertaining. Can't you just get the color out of your hair? Okay, so this happened today, like an hour or so ago. A bit of a preamble. I'm a trans girl, just got to my family's house to visit for Easter. I rode my motorbike down, and have shortish, pretty deep purple hair. I pulled into a non-brand specific supermarket around the corner from my family's place to pick up an energy drink, and as I got off my bike and removed my helmet, I could see out of the corner of my eye this little girl, LG, by the trolley return pointing at me and generally going nuts. I start to walk past to walk inside the store, and the little girl turns to her mother, our entitled parent of the story, sitting on a bench nearby with an old lady who must have been her mother, both having a cigarette. LG: "Mommy, can I have hair like her?" I rightly assumed this was about me. "No, little girl, that's not a girl." Old lady grunts in approval. I ignore and move in to grab my sweet taurine juice, and because it's Easter weekend, I'm in there for about 10 minutes or so just in a crowd. As I walk back out, the family is still outside with a lot more cigarettes smoked. Little girl: "But why can't I have pretty hair?" She sounds like she's been doing this non-stop. "Because I said so. Now shut up before I bloody clip you." I start to walk past as the entitled parent waves to catch my attention. "Hey mate, why you've gotta have hair like that for?" "Oh, because I want it?" "No, but why like that? No man I know has a color like that. Can't you just take it out?" Well, I'm not a man, so there's that much, and not without constantly washing my hair for like a couple of days. "No, I mean like, can you get it out now?" I knew the education in my area was lacking, but damn. "Look, I just wanted to grab a drink and get going. Let's just leave it." I turned to walk back to my bike and put my helmet back on. "Fine then, you little slur. Go be annoying somewhere else." Old lady grunts in a way that I guess must have been a laugh. The little girl was quiet through all of this, just looking between the two of us as she cuddles into her mother. I just had enough, but I didn't want her to feel like she came out on top, so I turn around, still a bit away from them, and reach a hand in my jacket pocket. "Oh, right, yeah, I'm sorry. Here, have this apology." Pulls out my hand and flips them both the bird, smiling and waving my other hand to present my apology. After a second of silence and slack-jawed looks from the pair, I turn and go back to my bike and start to make my way off, as in the background I hear the entitled parent hurling abuse my way about different stuff. Not as fantastical or karma-filled as some other stories on this sub, but hey. You know, it would be great to go into a full critique of this story, but all that's needed to be said is, lady, mind your own damn business. Wine all you like. I'm not giving your 15-year-old a glass of wine. Before I got into business and reporting analysis, I was a waitress for about 8 years. I have far too many stories, but this is one of my favorites. Background: I was working at a gastropub as a supervisor. I had a personal alcohol license. In the UK, you have to have someone on site with one, and we have to abide by certain laws as well as the premises license, which can also dictate what we can or cannot do. Failure to do so can mean the loss of your license, the premises license, and a personal fine if you're caught. Also, you can lose your job. The issue is, these two can sometimes contradict one another. This is important later. We had a family come in one evening wanting dinner. One of the two children was 15 or 16. She'll be known as Entitled Kid. Mother is Entitled Mom, father is Entitled Dad, MS is my savior, and me is your gloriously cynical host. I sat the family down, told them the specials, and asked them what they'd like to drink. Entitled Mom orders a lime and soda. The Entitled Dad orders a pint of lager, and Entitled Kid orders a small glass of rosé wine. We had a Challenge 25 policy in place, which meant if you looked younger than 25, we would ask you for ID. I ID'd Entitled Kid, which is where this all starts. Entitled Mom: "You don't need to see her ID." Unfortunately, it's our policy to ID anyone who looks younger than 25, which your daughter does. She's 16, which by law allows her a small glass of wine. You remember when I said about contradictions between law and license? This is one of them. By UK law, you're allowed to have a small glass of wine or half a pint of lager with a meal if you're with a parent or guardian and are 16 or 17. Most premises licenses prohibit this, as it's hard to prove if you're 16 or 17, as you don't go out with ID usually. The pub I worked had this in their license, so it didn't matter if she was 16. She wouldn't be allowed the alcohol. I'm very sorry, but I still cannot give her the wine, as it's prohibited in our license to sell alcohol to her. We have a great line of mocktails if she'd prefer. No, she'll have the wine. No, I will not be selling her any wine, as it could cost me my job, and this place could be shut down if an inspector came in and ID'd her. Not all entitled parents have to shout to be entitled. Sometimes it's the calm, not my problem attitude that makes an entitled parent what they are. That was this woman. I don't care about that. Just bring her what she asked for. I want wine. They said I could have it, and I want it. I knew where this was going. I had to stand my ground. I'm sorry again, but I can't sell you any wine. Is there anything else you'd like? Entitled mom then starts complaining to her husband, exasperated that I wouldn't bring her darling girl a glass of wine. Entitled dad: look, it's her birthday. Is there any way you could overlook it this once? His words were nice, but his tone was expectant that I'd relent. No. Sorry. Fine. EM throws her hands up in exasperation. You've made me want a glass of wine now. I'll have one instead. She'll have Coke. Thank you. Sorry again. Just to reiterate, that wine is for you and not her, right? I may have to ask you to leave if she is seen drinking the wine. Whatever. So off I go and make the drinks, come back and take their food order. I put it through the kitchen and ask one of my members of staff to keep an eye on them while I went for a quick break. I'd been on shift 12 hours at this point with no break and needed to put my feet up for a few moments. I came back from my break to see the entitled kid drinking the wine and the entitled mom drinking the Coke. I was pissed. I started walking over there. Entitled mom noticed me and tried to switch back the glasses. Hi there, folks. Now, I don't want to cause a scene, but I did say when taking your drink order that the kid couldn't drink wine on the premises, which you indicated you understood what the consequences of that may be. I don't remember that. She had a sneer on her face that said, and what are you gonna do? If she had been decent, I would have just given them another warning, but because she was annoying, I took another route. Whether you remember or not, I remember saying it. Unfortunately, because of this infraction of our premises license, I have the right to ask you to pay for your food and drink and leave. This is when entitled dad blew up. No, we're not leaving, and I refuse to pay. How dare you treat us like this? I demand to speak to a manager. I am the manager tonight, so you'll have to deal with me. Please calm down, sir, as you're disturbing other guests. More and more people begun viewing our little spectacle. None more so than the elderly gentleman, my savior, and his son who are on the next table. MS: how dare you, young man? I've heard enough. This young lady explained that your daughter could not have a glass of wine, and you defied that, putting her job and this place at risk for your own selfishness. Get out of here, old man. If I want a lecture, I'd call my own dad. Me to entitled dad: sir, if you don't calm down, I'll have no choice but to have to forcibly remove you. By the police if necessary. This made entitled dad balk. Entitled mom wasn't having any of it. We are not leaving. We'll go in our own time, and you'll bring us the rest of the bottle of wine as compensation for your rudeness. I laughed at that. To think I'd do that was ridiculous and delusional, to say the least. No, I'm sorry. I'm done being patient. Please pay and leave. I'll have your food packed up for you to go. I reached for entitled kid's plate first, which is when entitled dad grabbed my wrist and squeezed until it hurt. Don't you touch that. A bit scared at this point, I struggled with what to say until he yelled in pain. ES had told my employee to call the police and had struck entitled dad with his cane to get him to release my arm. His son had taken up beside him, and there was a few people shouting at them to just go. About 10 minutes later, 2 officers arrived and took my statement. The family obviously told a different story, which was proven false by the CCTV and its audio. The father was charged with endangerment of a minor. EK was actually 15, not 16. ABH, I had a nasty bruise, and resisting arrest. He tried to get out of the officer's grip. I think he got fines and community service. Entitled Mom was cautioned and was told to pay for the food and any other costs incurred by her and her partner. I got a well-earned day off. The thing is, if they'd had a nice meal at home, it would have been fine, as it's legal to drink alcohol in a private home from age 5. Entitled kid could have had a whole bottle of rosé if she wanted. Now, while the story does have some fantastical, shall we say, elements, and I'll be sure to add a poll to this video so you guys can vote on whether or not you believe it happened at all. Honestly, I've heard so many stories from the service industry that I can for sure believe something like this would happen. Is a badass grandpa always going to come in to save the day? No. Did a badass grandpa even come in this time? I'd like to think yes. Maybe that's the optimist in me. But some assholes tend to treat servers more than anyone like absolute trash. I don't know why or why they think they have the right to do so, but I've seen it happen before and I've heard even worse stories. I demand you be silent in your own apartment at all times. So I just moved to a new city and into a new apartment. The first time I had people over to my place, it was a few weeks after I moved in. It was 2 friends and we studied together, then played Scrabble. I guess it was getting a little too rowdy for 7:45 on a Thursday because my neighbor came and banged on my door. I opened it and smiled and tried to say hi, but he just said, "You need to shut the hell up," and then went back to his unit. I was too shocked to tell him that no, I didn't. Ever since then, he complains about me at least once a week. He's complained about me for watching a movie on my laptop at 8:20 in the evening on a Friday. He complained once when I was talking to my mom on the phone while I cooked dinner. Building policy says that every time he complains, the security guard has to come up and tell me to keep it down, but the guard just documents that it wasn't a serious complaint and nothing else happens. So I usually don't change my behavior after the warning. In response, my lovely neighbor has taken to banging on the wall in between our units and shouting, "Shut the hell up," at me. Yesterday he came over again to tell me that I need to buy soundproofing foam or something. I asked why he couldn't do it, and he said, "Because you're the one being loud." I explained that I had every right to make a reasonable amount of noise in my own unit. I'm just talking. I'm not playing loud music or yelling or doing anything else that is unreasonably disturbing. I'm allowed to talk to my mother on the phone in my own apartment. I'm allowed to have 2 friends over on a Friday night. Heck, I might even have 3 friends over if he keeps testing me. Anyway, he told me that he's going to speak to the building manager, so we'll see how that goes. Dude, if the neighbor is freaking out that much over a game of Scrabble, imagine what would happen if he had a full game of Monopoly going. Somebody gets a hotel on Park Place and oh, it's all downhill from there. Karen threatens to call the police on me if I don't give her my weed and gets royally served by karma. 420 special. Like 5 minutes away from my university I go to, there's a cookout restaurant that my friends and I always went to super late at night while intoxicated. One time, we had ordered and were pulling jeeps in the parking lot. The windows were cracked, so I guess Karen smelled it and parked her giant black Yukon XL right next to us. It was dark, but I guess you could have faintly seen the smoke repeatedly billowing out of the windows. We were dumb. There's a knock on the window. It's a girl about our age, maybe younger. We were 18 or 19, and makes a window roll down hand motion. We attempt to put everything out of sight before I roll it down. This girl's just standing there waiting when Karen rolls down her own window. She suggests from inside her car that her daughter smokes with us. She also does not fail to point out how obvious we're being. I apologize and say we're just about to leave. Karen didn't like that. "Let my daughter get high with you guys or I'm calling the police." I begin to roll up my window and tell my friends to get the hell out of here before all hell breaks loose. This would have worked if Karen didn't swing her door open at the same time. Her daughter was relenting, trying to say that it was fine and they should leave us, but remember, Karen's ego cannot be offended by rejection. She had her phone in hand with 911 typed in and once again threatened us, but this time she demands our weed. Since we're already high, this was far more stress-inducing than it should have been, but then again, we thought we were going to get caught, so I don't know. We gave her a pill bottle with about half a gram in it. We had another one, but definitely weren't giving her 4 grams. She does the annoying thanks while moving her shoulders like a condescending preschool teacher. She immediately pulls off and enters the drive-thru, but we stay in the spot, frozen in shock. After venting and regrouping, we begin to leave when a cop pulls into the parking lot. We feel violated and decide revenge is the most fitting option in this situation. The cop pulls up right in front of the restaurant. Me and one of my friends, after putting in eye drops, gum, and using deodorant, of course, go and knock on the window of his cruiser. We tell him that we had seen and smelled weed smoke coming out of the black Suburban in the drive-thru. After telling him we were students nearby, showing ID, and being breathalyzed, not uncommon, he thanks us and we return to our car. We watch him block the exit of the drive-thru when Karen's FBI-looking ass pulls to the end. After talking out the window for a minute, she steps out of the car and the cop looks around with his flashlight. We see him pull out the pill bottle from the console. She looks like she's denying that it's hers. The last thing we see before we start the car and dip is her pointing at us driving off as the cop begins to write her a ticket. Not sure what else is supposed to happen, but I'm assuming she was charged with possession. Most satisfying Karen revenge of my life. In case you were wondering, we finished smoking in a neighborhood across the street before heading back to our dorms. It was a good night. Alright, first off, kids, don't do drugs. Second of all, if any of you have never been to Cookout or heard of Cookout, it's the best fast food restaurant in existence. Please hear of it. Please go to it. And third of all, did this I want to talk to your manager looking ass mom and her giant Yukon seriously blackmail these kids into giving her weed by saying she was gonna call the cops on them? What is going on? I mean, seriously, what on earth? Did this happen? I'd like to believe so. Having been to Cookout very late at night on a college campus, around a lot of people who were definitely not sober, some weird things can happen. As weird as this, I'll let you guys be the judge. Thank you to everyone who watched this video. Be sure to subscribe for more daily Reddit content. Drop a like if you liked the video, and I will see you all tomorrow.